So yes, Adrian Newey announced as the Aston Martin team principal for 2026. Andy Cowell being moved out of that role and becoming the chief strategy officer, concentrating on the power unit, which is probably the best place for him. But the big question is, what about Horner? What does this mean? Does this mean there's no room for Horner in Aston Martin? Well, we're going to get into all of it and unpick it all. But if you are new to the channel, you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to the channel. Do smash a like on the video if you're enjoying it. And also make sure you've clicked the little notification bell so you can stay up to date with all of the content. Thank you so much for all of your support. But let's start off with Adrian Newey. Excuse me. Because I think this is Adrian Newey's first team principal role, okay? And I think that's very telling, because if you look at Adrian Newey's success, and there has been a great deal of it, he's won over 26 titles, mixture of constructors and drivers titles, but he's always been stood behind somebody, hasn't he? When he was winning them at Williams, there was Frank Williams. When he won them in McLaren, there was Ron Dennis. When he won them at Red Bull, there was Christian Horner. And Adrian Newey is 67 years old, and he's now part owner of Aston Martin Racing. It was a huge deal for Lawrence to bring him in. He's been making wholesale changes. I mean, basically, when he came into Aston Martin Racing, he told Lawrence, I don't want to have anything to do with the 25 car when he came in March. I'm going to focus on building the 26 car. And also, look at the team and see how we can improve processes within the team. From communication to the speed that we can react to situations, from engineering. And now, he wants to sort out operationally what happens at race weekends. We do know, after Vegas, it didn't go particularly well. Lance Stroll was the decisions that were made on the pit wall meant that Lance Stroll was not able to go through to Q3 at Las Vegas. And basically that has annoyed the most senior of people, including Lawrence Stroll. So he wanted to act on that. Andy Cowell was never really the best choice as team principal, if I'm honest. Like, his strengths always lay in power units. He did brilliantly heading up the power unit and engine department at Mercedes. And that's really where he should be. And that's where he's now going to be in Aston Martin. He's going to be concentrating on the relationship with Honda. He's no longer CEO. Remember that. It's important when it comes to Horner. He's also no longer team principal. He's a chief strategy officer focusing on the integration of the Honda power unit into the 26 car, and that's where he should be. Adrian Newey announced as team principal. Now let's look at that announcement and the language they use, because again, I think this is important, even when we're talking about what does this mean for Christian Horner, and I am coming to that, I promise. So this was a statement from Aston Martin. Andy Cowell will take on the new role as Chief Strategy Officer at Aston Martin, and Adrian Newey will take on the role of team principal from 2026. Now, a couple of the most interesting points in this, I'm not going to read it all out, but Adrian Newey will take on the role of team principal from 26 and will be guiding the technical team, including the trackside operations of the car. Now, that's an interesting statement, because I can tell you right now, Lawrence Stroll was not very happy with the trackside operations of the car, especially in Vegas, because his son was a direct victim of bad decisions. So that's very telling. And then, so what did Adrian Newey have to say about his new role? He said, over the last 9 months, I've seen great individual talent within our team. I'm looking forward to taking on this additional role as we put ourselves in the best possible position to compete in 2026, where we will face an entirely new position with Aston Martin, now a works team, combined with the considerable challenge faced by the new regulations. Of course, Andy's new role, focusing on the integration of the new power unit with our 3 key partners, will be pivotal in this journey. So he's giving credit to Andy Cowell. He doesn't want Andy Cowell. We all know it's a sideways move / demotion, because Andy Cowell was also CEO. Now this is where it becomes interesting when it comes to Christian Horner, because is there still room for Horner at Aston Martin? Well, the short answer is yes. Will it be a deal that they can strike together? That's unclear, because at the moment they've moved Newey into the team principal role. They've moved Cowell into the chief strategy officer role, leaving the CEO position vacant. I think that is done on purpose. It's done because if you look at McLaren, where they have CEO role, Zach Brown, and team principal role of Andreas Stella, it seems to work pretty well, right? They've won the constructors. It's a situation that works, which works well. And Christian Horner has his own requirements to come into a team. And everyone sort of thinks that, oh, Horner's walking around with his begging bowl. Please, sir, take me into your team. It just isn't the case. Christian Horner's walking around with a great big suitcase full of cash to go, hey, if you want me, I'm bringing a load of cash with me from my backers, and I want an equity stake in the team. And so do my backers. So it's a deal. And it's whether that deal can be done. It's not the situation where Christian Horner's running around going, hey, I'm a really successful team principal. Please give me a job. It's not it. Christian Horner has his own requirements. And it comes down to whether the team value what he has to offer. Do they value him as a team principal and his ruthless ambition to win at all costs? And do they value the money he's bringing with him as a cash injection into the team? And that's the question. But this misconception that Horner's running around going, hey, give me a job, please, sir, it just isn't the case. It's about a deal. And that type of deal is complicated because it comes down to you need to have an agreed valuation of the team, an agreed amount of shares that the team is willing to sell to Horner and his consortium, and the clearly defined role within the team of what Horner is going to do. Horner doesn't want to come in and be an owner of a team and not have an active role. He doesn't want to invest in a team and sit back and eat cucumber sandwiches on race day. That's not what he wants. He wants... The reason why it's so important for him to have an equity stake in the team is because he wants to feel that he cannot be removed from his role, right? He wants to feel he has ownership of the team. He wants that he doesn't want what happened to him at Red Bull to happen to him again. And he wants as well, if he does create a winning team, that the value of that team going up and up and up, he wants to be rewarded for that by his equity stake going up in value. Exactly what's happened with Toto Wolff. So Horner has requirements. The teams have their requirements. And if Aston Martin, their requirements can meet a deal with Horner's requirements, then could Horner still do a deal with Aston Martin and slot in as the CEO? Possibly. Do I think that Adrian Newey's appointment has created a space where Aston Martin can continue to explore those conversations without the scrutiny of every day, the press saying, is Horner going to be team principal? What's happening with Horner? Then yeah, it does achieve that. Does it allow Adrian Newey to continue the development and the great work he's doing within Aston Martin without the distraction and noise of the Horner conversation? Yes, it does. Does it also remove Cowell from his sort of roles and responsibilities where he's answering questions about Horner and actually move him into his new role now, give him all the praise that, politically is the right thing to do, and then Cowell gets used to his own role as chief strategy officer, and then sort of makes that transition easier should Horner come in? Yes, it does. But does it mean that Horner is going to come into Aston Martin? We don't know. The opportunity is still there. The fact that they have not named a CEO and they have removed Cowell from the CEO position does mean that the opportunity is still there. Those conversations will be ongoing until the deal falls apart, because Horner does have other options. Horner would take, if this Aston Martin deal falls down and they can't meet an agreement where both parties are happy with the deal, then Horner has got other options. The Alpine deal is still on the table. There's 24% of that team up for grabs right now. There's also the opportunity for a whole new racing team. Like, Horner has his requirements. He's not just going to take a job. That's not what it comes down to. It comes down to whether there's a good fit. And obviously people talk about getting the band back together. Newey's not daft. Newey knows Christian Horner's strengths and weaknesses. But Newey also has been in the shadow, and he felt at Red Bull that he didn't get the credit that he deserved. We do know that Horner and Newey are now sort of on friendly terms again. We know that. They're hanging out together socially. But can that deal be done? Does Lawrence Stroll want the big bag of cash that Horner has with him? And does he believe that within the team, Horner, there is a space for him as a CEO and as an owner, and how much equity they're going to sell? So that deal is still on the table at the moment. It doesn't mean Horner's out. It just means it's a complicated deal to be done. And it also means that Newey, honestly, from those comments, I think he quite fancies being team principal. And we've also got to remember that Horner isn't going to be able to be trackside till the earliest is probably May. So there's a lot of moving parts. But does it mean Horner to Aston Martin is dead? I would say today, as we're talking about it, no. Is it telling that the CEO role at Aston Martin is free? Yes. Does Horner have other options? Yes. So there is still a lot more to come on this story. But congratulations to Adrian Newey. This does steady the ship in the immediate term. And also from 2026, from Melbourne, you know, Newey's going to be calling the shots, and somebody needs to be doing that. And don't forget, Adrian Newey wants to give his car the best chance to be showcased and optimized on race weekend. And Newey can make those decisions. The thing where I feel there's a question mark about Newey is, how does he deal with investor relations? How does he deal with the press and the media? Does he even enjoy that? And would he welcome Horner coming in at CEO, as a CEO 3 months into the season, to take those roles and responsibilities off him? That is also possible. So the deal is still possible. Horner to Aston Martin is not dead just because Adrian Newey is the new team principal for 2026. I hope that helps your thinking and clears things up. But if you have enjoyed the video, please do hit the bell if you want to keep up to date with all of our content. Subscribe if you haven't yet. And if you've enjoyed the video, do smash a like on it as well. Thank you so much for all of your support. I will see you tonight at 7:30 for our live daily news stream. I'll see you then. Ta-ta.